We all love a big unexpected twist, but what we don't love is a twist so unexpected that it seems nonsensical. The key to pulling off a great final act surprise is to cleverly seed it throughout the rest of the runtime. In fact, some filmmakers do it so cleverly that we don't even realise what we're seeing the first time round. So I'm Amy from What Culture, and here are 8 movie plot points secretly introduced earlier than you realised. 8. Shaun of the Dead, the pub's significance. Now I'm picking on just one specific point here, but in one monologue near the beginning of the film, Edgar Wright just really laid out every major plot point of the film under our noses, and we were none the wiser. As Shaun and best friend Ed enjoy a pint at the local, Ed lays out his plans to cheer Shaun up after his girlfriend Liz breaks up with him. He proposes, quote, "Do you know what we should do tomorrow? Keep drinking. Bloody Mary first thing, a bite at the King's Head, a couple at the Little Princess, stagger back here and bang, back at the bar for shots." Much of Shaun's life revolves around being at the pub, it seems, and that's partially why his girlfriend was so unhappy with him in the first place. In the plans laid out by Ed, things start at the pub and they end at the pub, and everything in between is just noise. Of course, by the time the movie is played out, we have ended up back at the pub, and the shots at the bar they talk about are far more literal than we first considered. Incidentally, everything else he laid out in that plan was pretty literal too. 7. Reservoir Dogs. Orange is the snitch. Unfolding the story of a diamond heist gone wrong, Reservoir Dogs shows the fallout of the criminal exercise in which suspicions rise to fever pitch between a gang of robbers. A decent chunk of the movie passes by before the audience is hit with the revelation that one of the colour-coded central team has been a rat all along. However, keenly analytical viewers have pointed out in the years since that the traitor's identity is seeded long before it's revealed. In fact, in the very first scene, Orange gives himself away unconsciously. If you think about it, this is a band of criminals, all of whom have had it drilled into them that you don't ever snitch. So, when in the first scene they get into a minor argument over tipping at restaurants, and Orange without hesitation blames the short tip figure on Pink, it's immediately made clear that he doesn't hold the same moral code as the others. Reddit user Final Edit pointed out that this isn't the only seeding that Orange is the wrong'un. They explained that in crime films, the orange has long been associated with the dark and the bad. It seems that right from our first introduction to Orange, we've been told that he's the odd one out and not to be trusted. 6. The Shawshank Redemption. There's freedom in the Bible. Now this is an absolute classic that we just couldn't miss off. Famously, the movie's prison warden is a bit of a Bible basher, a man who, despite having clearly no respect for his neighbour, to use the biblical term, seems heavily attached to the idea of using the Bible to support his bull. In one scene, he lifts and displays a Bible, telling the folks around him that salvation lies within. Now, if you have a great memory and attention span, you may then get the satisfaction of connecting the dots when Andy escapes. See, Andy hides the little hammer he tunnels with inside of the Bible. His key to freedom literally was contained within the hollowed out pages. Those with a keen eye may have even noticed that he keeps it hidden specifically in the Exodus section, something that Reddit user Evil Petting Zoo pointed out as being extra significant because that segment is all about escaping slavery and finding liberation. 5. ENCANTO. Mirabel will change her sister's power. An early on track in ENCANTO sees main character Mirabel lament her lack of powers and how she'll always be excluded from her family. In a family of people all gifted with a supernatural ability, she's the only one who the miracle surpassed and left normal. She talks about the good she would do, begging for the miracle to befall her and allow her to do the things that her family does, and more. Reddit user The Book Klepto paid special attention to the lyrics here, and noticed that they actually tell us certain plot points that are to come. Specifically in one line, Mirabel promises that if she were gifted, she would move mountains and make new trees and flowers grow. Here, she is sort of spelling out part of the plot where she enables her siblings to become better versions of themselves, emotionally moving her strong sister to be able to open up about how she's struggling, and then literally unlocking her other sister's ability to grow whole new plants. 4. Knives Out. The detective suspects Marta early. Knives Out is full of eccentric, colourful characters, and so at times it's easy to suspect just about any one of them. However, from pretty early on, we know, or we think we know, what really went down, and that Marta is seemingly the one to blame for Harlan's death. We also know that Marta's shoe gives her away, seeing as dotted on one of her feet is a blood spot left over from when Harlan ended his life. Well, it seems, according to some eagle-eyed viewers online, that Detective Blanc also knows this and suspects Marta's involvement more than he gives away. You actually see in one of his first meetings with her that he does a double take, glancing back down at her shoes before continuing. This clearly shows us that he's noticed the blood spot, introducing his knowledge of her involvement way earlier than when he eventually admits it. Another fun detail you may have heard of also hints to us which of the family is specifically the culprit. In the movie, we often see family members on their phones, all of which are iPhones. And as it turns out, Apple doesn't let films use iPhones for villains of any movie. And so, by the process of elimination, we can narrow down our suspects just by looking at their phone usage. 3. Thor Ragnarok. Thor losing his eye. Thor Ragnarok sees Thor's destructive older sister come to Asgard and wreak her signature brand of havoc. She makes it pretty clear that she has no respect for the powers that be on the planet, and goes about clearing out villagers and massacring Asgard's army. Whilst Loki and Thor are otherwise indisposed, she goes to the palace to cause some chaos. Part of her tirade is to destroy the murals of her father and brothers, sending the stone crashing down to the ground. It turns out that this wasn't just an expression of anger towards the three men, but it also served as a way for the filmmakers to get in a little bit of foreshadowing for the later confrontation. When Thor returns home and surveys the damage, he approaches the torn down murals and inspects his own face staring up from the ground. Across his right eye, there's a large crack. A crack put on his visage by his sister's violence. It's a cheeky nod to their later fight in which the sister makes this picture a reality, gouging out Thor's right eye. Yeah, this one's a little one, but it is super satisfying to notice. 2. Skyfall. M's death. It's in the opening credits that Skyfall betrays its major plot point that is M's death. Towards the end of the film, we finally witness the loss of Judi Dench's M after 7 films worth of faithful service. It's been long enough by now that I think all James Bond fans have seen Skyfall and thus are privy to M's fate. However, when this first came out, this would be a major spoiler for those viewing it for the first time, so I just wonder if anyone was smart enough to pick up on it immediately. Right in the intro sequence, the producers decided to have a little fun, putting a reference to this major plot point right in front of us. Now that we know how things unfold, it seems almost daringly obvious what they did, showing Judi Dench's name over the background of a graveyard. This means that as soon as the intro was over, we'd already had it planted deep in our subconscious that M was doomed, but it was so cheeky and quick that no one ever would have known. 1. Predestination. They're all related. One super underrated way of shoehorning in a hint about your movie's plot is to sneak it in via music. This can be because certain pieces of music have certain implications or historical significance, or maybe they simply contain lyrics that line up with the plot yet to come. Predestination is a time travel thriller, one of those super complicated, time-jumping, never-ending loop sort of things. And a never-ending loop is almost exactly what we get, as it's slowly revealed that all of our main characters are the same person, all from different time periods, different levels of plastic surgery and trauma, etc. Each of the main characters are the same guy, just going by different names. To take this even further, we even find out that our main character was born from themselves. Both their mother and father are also them. With this knowledge, we can chuckle at the fact that early on in the movie, our main character at the time sings along quietly to a song titled I Am My Own Grandfather. Damn right you are. You're also your own mum, dad, lover, child, enemy, and traitor too. Hey, talk about being self-reliant. And with that, we've reached the end of this list of 8 movie plot points secretly introduced way earlier than you realised. If you've got any more you would have included on the list, let us know in the comments down below. And remember to check out whatculture.com for more lists and articles like this every single day. As always, I've been Amy from What Culture, and I'll catch you next time.